Right, so my name is Curtis Aube, and I'll start by just giving a little background. I've been making games for a little over 16 years. Started with QBasic. Yeah, that was the hot game engine. No, it's really bad. Kind of DOS level, very pixelated graphics kind of stuff. That's what I started with. So I've also done stuff with Flash and Flex as well. I never actually finished any of those games, but I have a bunch that were halfway done. So I've also, for the past 8 years, been working at various local software companies and stuff like that. So I have a lot of experience with programming. I'm also really interested in art and things like that. So I made a game. And the game, I made every piece of it. I made the music, the art, and the 3D models and the programming, and so I did all the different pieces of it. And then I released it on Steam, so that's what I'm going to talk about. So just for an outline, I'm first going to talk about a timeline. This is just kind of give you an idea of like how long things took, when I did things. This isn't necessarily to say that that's the way to do it, but that's just to give you an idea of how it can be done, right? Also, the green light process, this is how you actually get your game onto Steam. It's kind of a voting system, and I'll talk about that. Then Steamworks, this is what you then have to integrate with when you get past the green light. And then the actual release of the game. And then after you release the game, there's a public response, and so you have to deal with that. And so I'm going to talk about that as well. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's my timeline. So I started in 2014 in June, and it actually started, so the game that I made is a marble game. You roll the marble around. It's similar to some other marble games, Marble Madness or Monkey Ball. People like to compare it to that. There's actually a game on the Wii, specifically that I kind of modeled it after. But it actually started as just sort of a learning process. I wanted to learn Unity. It was actually why I started this project. And it started progressing along, and I thought it looked pretty cool. So I figured, well, I'm going to change my goals. And so my new goals were I want to get this game on Steam. And so I kind of laid out what I needed to do to get there, and I did it. So, so there's lots of different pieces involved, and I want to make sure, don't be discouraged, okay, by anything the complicated pieces that I talk about. Just take things one at a time. That's kind of how you can get to your end result. And of course, I believe this is being recorded, so you can always go back and look at things. And Valve put together a lot of really good documentation for all this stuff. So you're not just lost swimming in trying to find your way. So anyways, so I have a few months here, and then what I did is I decided to submit it to Greenlight, and at the same time I submitted to Congregate. Congregate is GameStop's online game engine. I used Unity's web player. At the time, all the browsers supported it, so it was great. So I released it there, and so sort of this is the idea I had, is that I was going to congregate, people were going to play it there, and then at the end, when you finish the sample levels that I had in there, it would have a little sort of ad for like, hey, check out this game on Greenlight and vote for it, right? And then on Greenlight, I said, hey, there's a Congregate game where you can try out my game. So I kind of tried to do like this cyclic, advertising. It worked a little bit. I don't know if it was really super successful, but I think the idea was interesting. So one thing to note is, Greenlight, I don't think that many people actually went and played my Congregate game. So really what people really assess the most is your video. So I'm going to talk about that as well. After that, it took quite a bit of effort to go from, this was sort of like my prototype, that I put up on Greenlight, and then to actually get it to where it was released on Steam. And here, it actually passed Greenlight, which was like seemingly out of the blue. I didn't think it was going to pass actually at the time. So I'll talk more about that. And then, so it was just a little bit over a year and a few months there, and then I released the game. I also did a follow-up release recently with some updates. I added a level editor and stuff like that. But that's actually, that's the whole time span there. It's just a little over a year. So I showed that mostly to kind of say, well, you know, if you submit something to Greenlight, you know, just wait, right? Don't just say, it didn't work, it's been in there a month and it didn't pass, so I'm just gonna, you know, because, you know, if you leave it in there long enough, you know, you just might get through, so. So Greenlight. So first question is, when is my game ready for Greenlight? And kind of how I gauged this is I got to a point in the game where it was only a matter of time before I was done. Like I said, you know, I had the main core kind of mechanic working well. I had a decent set of sample levels in my game, and I just needed to plug through, finish all the levels, you know, and kind of clean up some of the pieces and stuff. But I had a working thing, and it was just a matter of time before the game was done. And so I said, well, I think it's a good time to put it up on Greenlight. And, you know, your mileage may vary. You know, it was pretty good for me. One thing really to note about Greenlight is when you put it on Greenlight, that's when you're going to get the most people to vote on it. So think about, you know, so it's really important that your initial Greenlight, when you publish it on Greenlight, that it's good. And it doesn't necessarily mean that your game has to be perfect and working, but your presentation of the game has to be very good. You want a very good video. You want very good, you know, high resolution screenshots, a good description of what your game is, why someone would want to play it, right? So what do you need for Greenlight? You need $100. That's how much it costs to get set up. And what I actually did with mine is it's actually a Steam game that you buy on Steam for Greenlight. So or like I guess a software thing. It's kind of weird. So I didn't really want the Greenlight to be associated with my personal Steam account with all the games that I play and everything, you know. So I actually made a separate Steam account specifically for Greenlight, and I named it, you know, my company. So it's Katos Games is the user that has Greenlight, and that's all it has. And so I felt like that was a pretty good thing to do to kind of separate it from my personal Steam account. So, and also later on, I'll talk about. Steam actually suggests making a separate account just for builds as well, so that, you know, that's kind of a normal thing to make extra accounts for stuff like this. Okay, so a video, but you really want to make sure this is a good video. Funny story, I actually accidentally published my game on Greenlight. I had it mostly set up, and I put a video on there, and then it gave me the publish button, and I'm like, oh no. You know, like I thought it was going to give me like a warning or something. It was like, yeah, your game's published. I'm like, oh good. So I had a pretty bad video actually. I had used this like crappy recording software where the mouse is supposed to be hidden in my game, you know, but it showed the mouse, so I was like, oh, well, that's not very good, but I stuck it on there because I needed something, and then I accidentally published that with that video, so I quickly had to like try to frantically make a new video to put it up there, because I started getting comments like, I don't think the mouse should be on the, and I'm like, that's not.
So you can't take it down, I take it. It's up there until you put something else up.
Yeah, because you need a video, so.
Yeah.
But if you put a new video up, can you take an older one down?
Yeah, you just replace it. It's actually, what's interesting is on Greenlight, you actually link it to a YouTube video. So whereas when you actually go to release the game and you have the store, then they host your video. But and Greenlight, I guess they don't want to host all these videos.
Nice. Give us $100 and don't bother us.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, you just put it on YouTube and then you link to it, and then they kind of host it on there. So you might be able to publish without it. Well, I think you probably need a video. I don't remember, but any case, you should have a video. And then you need a description, and it's good to have a website as well. You know, and have that, make sure that looks pretty good, you know, because people, when they want to contact you at all, you know, it's good to have a contact on there, all kind of stuff. And I also put IndieDB on there. You don't have to do that, but that's another thing you can sign up for, and you can actually link that right into your Greenlight. It puts a little IndieDB logo on there. So, different ways to try to get the word out that you have something on there.
I checked out your website. It looks good. We use the same template.
I know, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I noticed that as well. I modified mine quite a bit, but yeah, we use the same template. Okay, so you publish your game on Greenlight and you get this stats page, okay? Now, when I did this, this is really depressing, actually. Because, like, they show you these stats, like, okay, you know, the top 50, you look where the top 50 are. They have, you know, 3,000, you know, or whatever, you know, like they have a lot more yeses, you know. 41% say yes, and you, look at you, you're at 29%. Right? So, and then like they show you this nice graph and see, look, you're kind of bottomed out here near the bottom. See these other games that are really See this nice pie chart where you're just that.
No.
This is why I didn't think I was going to make it through Greenlight, because you see all these charts, I'm like, man, this is never going to So this is actually something that can be hopefully, you know, encouraging to use if you put your game on Steam. Just because these things don't look promising, you know, you leave it in there long enough, it might actually make it through. I don't know why I'm not using it actually, but.
Yeah, I've heard too, like the the measure for like what percentage you should be looking for is not like, you know, it's not like some like ABC rating scale where you're like looking for 90% yes. It's like something where you're looking for like maybe 40, maybe 30% yes, and then you're kind of like
right.
doing it.
If you have like all no's, then yeah, probably it's not going to be that great. But yeah, I mean, I had a slice, and so I guess they thought it was good enough, so I'm through.
Well, it's interesting that the top games are only hitting 41%, so most people don't want to buy
games.
No, but it just means that it's segmented, right? Like some
Yeah.
people like this type of game, some people like
Right.
that type of game, so there's
Yes.
these different
Yeah,
clusters.
and the marble rolling genre is kind of the niche thing. You know, it's not a lot of people's main go-to. You know,
Yeah.
it's not a FPS or anything. You know? So. But yeah, and so I mean, what you want to look at is like, it's a pretty good number. You know, I got 1,000 yes votes. I got some followers, which is actually, that's a cool number. I got some followers.
Well, when you think about that, followers especially, if you want to think about it in a marketing sense, those are your repeat customers.
Yeah.
The more followers you have, the more people that are going to say, hey,
Yeah.
look at this other thing this guy did. Play it and be like, hey, this is pretty good, tell all their friends.
Right. Yeah, and this is the one. I mean, these are the ones that I'm like, these people are probably actually going to really buy it. You know. Kind of thing, because they're wanting to see when it's updated. But, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so
just about for Greenlight, which seems like Greenlight's kind of like a marketing test, like rather than a game test.
Yeah.
right.
So I just was wondering what did you rely on for marketing? Just like tweet links and Facebook, and then.
Yeah, it was what I did. I made a Twitter account and did lots of tweeting about stuff that I was working on, Screenshot Saturday and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I made a Facebook page and a website, and I put the game on IndieDB and stuff like that. And so that's kind of what I tried to do. I'm not really all that great at marketing stuff, so I can't really say exactly,
Well, it almost seems like Greenlight does a good chunk of the marketing for you, aside from social media interaction, because if you've got the video and the images up there, it will get put into the Greenlight queue.
Yeah, and like I said, right at the very beginning, when it first goes into Greenlight, it's on the main page on Greenlight, and that's when you're going to get the most hits. So that's you're going to capitalize on that first entrance. Yeah. So, okay. Does that answer your question? Yep. Okay, cool. Okay, so. So after you're greenlit, of course, throw a party, because that's important. Right? You're like, yes! Greenlit! Okay. so it's really exciting. The big milestone, and so but the next thing is you actually have a lot of work to do after that. The next thing is you have to integrate with their Steamworks stuff, and well, before you do that, you have to sign this agreement. You have to sign over your firstborn child. No, just kidding. But you do need to give them either an EIN, which is a company employee identification number, employment identification number, or your social security number. So they have to have that, so taxes and all that kind of stuff. And then you'll need bank information so that when you start making money, they know where to put the money, right? And so there's lots of like forms and stuff you gotta sign, and then you are granted access to the Steamworks. Yes.
I got a question. So, I mean, you said you have a company, but like I don't know what level you have a company. Do you have a separate bank account for that, or
Yep.
is it
So
okay?
yeah. Well, so what I decided to do is I made a sole proprietorship, which is like a trade name, doing business as in Vermont with Katos Games, and then so now I have an EIN, and then I set up a bank account for that, so that so basically like someone could sign a check to Katos Games kind of thing, and so that means that then Steam can put money in as to Katos Games in the bank account.
As someone who actually does payroll for a living, that's extremely common. For people that have like a little side business or something, they'll just put up a DBA and say, hey, I need this for legal purposes, and that's it. So this is spot on.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Nice. Is that
Yeah, thank you.
okay? So after you get through that hurdle, then it's Steam SDK integration. So this is so that it has the Steam overlay and all the achievements and all that cool stuff that Steam does. So you can download the SDK from Steamworks. It's like a I think it's C library or something like that. So I didn't use it directly. I used because I'm using Unity, so I wanted a C# library. So what I used is I used Steamworks.net. Which can be used for any C# game, and it also has stuff specifically for Unity, so you can just run a thing and it installs itself into Unity. It's pretty neat. So that really helps a lot trying to get that set up. Though it's still not trivial. It's still quite a bit of work. Once you just sort of like get it installed and it runs. You have to link it sort of to your game has an ID, and so you link it to your ID, and then once you get it kind of set up, I guess sort of your hello world or you got it working, is that the overlay will start working, so that that where you can like control or shift tab and it brings up the overlay or whatever. So that's the first step. You have overlay working. Yes, it can be on Steam, right? So that's pretty cool. But you can also integrate in many other ways. You can do achievements, leaderboard stats, cloud saves, and all kinds of other things that Steam offers. Yep.
So the engine. So I'm working HTML5, and HTML5 and Steamworks don't play well together, in my understanding. So in most of my tests, overlay doesn't work correctly. Does overlay have to work correctly to go onto the green light? Go forward with the Steamworks program?
I'm not sure. I mean, it probably should work.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a pretty important piece.
Well, so I'll throw in my hat again here and say that there's launching software that they release. So like Grand Theft Auto 5 has just the launcher for it. Other MMOs have the launcher for it, which don't directly implement the Steam overlay,
Right.
but the games that they launch do.
Do support.
And the overlay itself is a toggle in the settings menu, so that might definitely be worth looking into, because if there is even the option to turn it off, not having the option for the overlay might be okay.
So yeah, I haven't had too much experience with other other platforms. I've only used Unity for this so far. So, but definitely interesting to try to work that out and get it working. So that's it for that one. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about a little bit of the Steamworks integration. So I'm going to do achievements. So first of all, there's kind of like this web portal where you can log in and you can set up all the stuff for your game. So you can set up the store, the name of your game, the description, all that kind of stuff. But you can also set up all the different things that your game will interact with, like the leaderboards and the achievements and all that kind of stuff. So it's all web based. So first thing you have to do if you're going to set up like achievements is you have to create those achievements. So you give them sort of an ID, a description, and then the images for those achievements. Upload all that stuff, and then you have to actually make your code use it. And so for using Steamworks.net, you do Steam user stats, set achievement, and then the name of the achievement. So it's, that one's pretty simple. One thing I found out, which is kind of interesting, when you do this, when you just set the achievement, it doesn't actually show you the achievement. It just kind of saves it. It says, yeah, you got it, great. And then, so if you stop there, it won't show you that you got that achievement until you shut the game down. So I've actually seen some games do this, like, what is it, Age of Empires HD does that. You don't see any achievements until you shut the game off, and then, oh, look, I got something! So this took me a little bit to figure out, but you just have to say store those stats, and then suddenly it will pop it up on the screen as you're playing, which is, I think, what most people expect. So there's kind of a two-step there, and a little hidden, like, gotcha, Because I was like, why are these not showing up? And then I shut the game off, and suddenly they all appear, like, oh! What the heck?
So you have to call the store stats method for the little toe stuff on it?
Yep, yeah, you just have to say, like, save this out right now and show it to me, kind of thing. Beyond that, there's a whole bunch of stuff you gotta do, and they have a big checklist in there, which is nice. So you can see, and it says you've completed these, you still need to do these, and so, and this is what the checklist looks like. You have to set up the store, basic info, release date, system requirements, pricing, and proposed pricing. They have to say yes, you can use that price. A trailer.
What does that mean for at least one package?
I'll talk about packages in a little bit, probably. Yeah, but good point. Yeah, there's a depots, packages, and builds. So yeah, I'll talk about that. You need at least 5 screenshots, and then you need capsule images, which the capsule is that on the store where it has like that rectangle and it has a picture of the game. And then the capsule also appears in the lists and all of it. You have to have different sizes of it for all the different places that they put it all over the place. You need that, support info. So this is actually your contact. This can be a website. So for me, I just sent it over to my contact page on the website. This is really important. This is what everyone's going to contact you with, and they will contact you. So I'll talk about who they are.
Can I ask you what you set up for that? Did you just set up like an email form on your site, or did you have a user forum? Or?
Well, I used the template that I used that Shane also uses. It comes with a contact. It's actually just a PHP script that executes on the server and just sends it out.
Through some mail server somewhere.
Yeah, so I have katosgames.com, and so it sends it to my email. Yep. So developer, publisher field, app configuration, so there's a bunch of things you gotta do there. You also have to set up stuff for the community capsule, community icons, lots of pictures. They want lots of icons, right? Client icon. So then here's the depots. You need one depot configured, and I'll talk about that probably in a minute as well. One build configured, and it has a launched executable. So this is to say that this is where the game executable is, my game, marblemuse.exe or marblemuse.whatever, app or something like that.
So you don't have to create, like for Windows, you don't have to create like a setup program, an installer. They take care of the installer. You just supply them with the exe and then that folder, blah, blah,
Yeah,
whatever. just
because
locate it.
it's going to be like a folder, and they want to know which file do I execute in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
folder to save to start the game.
So what about with games that do like C++ redistributable installers when you first run the game?
I'm not really sure, actually.
Okay.
I haven't done that, so yeah.
Actually, the
Steam includes those, because it runs from the Steam prompt. It doesn't, usually doesn't run from the game, Steam runs it first.
well, yeah, no, it's got the Steam UI and all the assets for the regular Steam overlay, and it says you're installing the packages, blah 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 blah. But different games install different packages and different things.
Right.
So that's why I was wondering that. Like, do you have to tell Steam, hey, I have these extra DLLs and packages? Can you handle that, or does Steam do it automatically?
Probably you have to handle it, I guess.
So, now, actually, the real question I wanted to ask, but he made that thought go in my head, was GitHub. It seems like this would be great for integration with GitHub. Does it have that?
I don't think so. I mean, you have to go through their specific launch process, which I'll talk about. It's pretty involved as well, which is a lot of fun. And so, also recommended items are cloud saves and Steam trading cards. And I was actually not going to do these because all the rest of the stuff's a lot of work. I was like, I don't want to deal with that. But I actually ended up doing cloud saves right at the end. And then I was like, oh, what the heck, I'll do Steam trading cards. Man, that thing's a pain. I'll go into that. That's a lot of fun. Okay, so I'm going to talk about all the magic right now. Depots are for each operating system that you support. So you're going to have, so for me, I actually had one for each operating system. I had a Windows depot, an OS X depot, and a Linux depot.
Does anybody buy Linux games?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They actually pay for them. No, I know they plan them.
Yes, you can see stats, and I have had some purchases. It's not very many, a couple. But yeah, and so then the packages are these down here, which is they have a developer package, a beta package, and the release package. Okay. Now, one thing that's really important, and I learned this the hard way, is you don't necessarily have the same depots in these packages. You have to set them up. Okay? And so here's what happened. So I had set up my depots for my developer package and my beta package, and I had a beta key. And so I was testing my game, and I had lots of other beta testers testing my game, and everything was working fine. I went to release my game, I released it, and everyone that downloaded it got 0 kilobytes. They got nothing. And I was like, what the heck? And I contacted Steve, and what it turned out is that I had not put any depots in my release package, and so there was no game there for them to download. But it works fine for me the whole time. I'm like, I have the game, you can download it, everything's great. But then nobody got it. So, once those depots were set up, the game automatically updated, everyone got it, and it was fine. But that was like heart-stopping, kind of scary, I'd also gone on a road trip. Don't do that. Lessons learned. Don't go on a road trip on release day. And put your depots in your packages. Oh man, not smart. Okay. So that's what those are. And then you also have builds. And so you assign your builds to your so you have multiple builds, and you can say, okay, this build is now live or whatever, and then it goes into the package. Okay.
What are keys to request?
Yeah. So over here they also have you can request like I want 50 beta keys or whatever, and then Steam will give you those keys. You can hand them out to people, and they can beta test for you.
Ooh, that's cool. That's really easy.
Yeah. And then also like if you want release keys, you can get some release keys, and maybe you'll use those for giveaways or something like that, or stuff like that. So like I did at the Maker Faire, I gave away a couple keys, kind of a thing for fun. So
If someone has a beta key, do they automatically get the release from that?
Yeah, so beta key just gives you, basically what it does is it says you can start playing this game whether the release flag is flipped or not. But after that point,
And it's always updated automatically? Like the beta version would get...
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, it's exactly the same. And actually, after your game's released, then you can make like separate sort of branches to say like I want like a test branch, and then you can have people go onto the test branch and test out your game there.
Good way to release beta keys is through Steam. I mean, not Steam, Twitch.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a lot of developers are doing now is they'll hop on Twitch streams and just give a whole bunch of keys away.
Nice. How much time do I have? No,
You're good.
okay. All right. So Steam build. So you have to use Steam's stuff to build the game. So you build it normally however you want to build it. Like you know, with mine, I use using Unity, so I built the package using Unity. Now, so that's the first thing to do. But then you actually have to put it into Steam's build system. So this is all documentation off of Steam's documentation. So you know, don't worry if you haven't memorized it all. But basically, what they recommend is you make a build account specifically for this. So like I was saying before, where I made a company account, they recommend you also make a build account, which will, all it'll do is just log in and set the build, like, you know, and actually like do all the uploading and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Okay, so you also have to set up Steam Pipe launch options. And I believe that's also like where the executable is and stuff like that. You need to use, you need to have a build machine, and it actually has to be Windows. You can't run it with a Mac. So I like using a Mac, so so I built all my games on a Mac, and then I transferred them over to my Windows machine to actually put them up on Steam. Now the Steam Pipe tools are actually in the SDK, so whether you're going to use the SDK directly or not, you do need to download it so you get the tools. And then you set up some config files for each game to say like, not for each game, for each package or depot, sorry. I'm all confused. For each depot, so one for Windows, OS X, Mac, Linux. And then, so then the actual process, then what you do each time you do a new build is you build your game for each platform that you want in whatever you're using, in my case Unity. And then for Mac OS X, you actually need an additional step, which is content preparation. You run it through some special thing that's in the SDK, and it does some magic on it and changes I don't know what, and then it's ready for Mac. And then, so then you have all of your builds ready. You copy them into the content folder. It's all set up in the SDK to do this. And then you run your Steam Pipe build. And what that will actually do is it'll log in using your build account that you set up, and it will kind of like binary diff everything and just send up the changes through some form of magic, I would imagine. And then,
A lot of magic.
yes, there is a lot of magic. And then your game is ready. And so it does not automatically go live, thank goodness. It just puts up a new build row. And then you can set, usually what I do is I set that build to a test deployment. And then I run, you know, I test it and make sure everything's working, and then I just flip it over to the release once it's ready. Of course, before you've released your game, you can, you know, it doesn't matter where it is because no one can play it, you know, unless they have a beta key and you know, they expect, you know, to test it, I would imagine. You know, I didn't get too many complaints. I can't play the game. You broke something. Oh well, sorry. Okay, so and then yeah, that's right. So you set the branch and then you do some beta testing. So.
What kind of things are the configuration files that you're making for each of those?
They come up with like a sort of a template that you fill out, and it's you have to say where certain files are that it needs to know about, and you set the number for that corresponds to its depot and all that kind of stuff. There's just a bunch of just wiring up, so it knows how to build it and send it.
Sure.
Yeah, cool. Any other questions on that part? Okay, cool. Yeah, like I said, there's documentation for it. I probably butchered explaining that stuff. The documentation does a pretty good job. Okay, so I'm going to talk about my fun with trading cards. I decided very late that I wanted to do trading cards, which was a bad idea. Don't do that. If you want to do trading cards, start a little earlier because there's a ton of stuff you got to do for it. So you have to, of course, you have to make the cards. You need at least 5 of them. And so, but that's not all.
Wait, there's more.
You also have to make 5 badges, because you can go up levels. I don't know if you know much about Steam trading cards, but you collect all the cards and you get a badge. And you collect all the cards again, you get another badge. So you can keep going up levels, and then you get the beautiful, amazing foil badge. Okay? And so this is the coveted thing that everyone wants, the foil badge. Okay? So that's that. And then you have 5 large emocons, which are those little, things that you can say in the chat, and you're like, LOL, Gordon Freeman, So you get those, and then the 5 small emocons you also have to make, and then you have to make 5 profile backgrounds, which are these are the big, high resolution backgrounds that you can put on your Steam account, and those have to be 1920 wide and between 800 and 1200 pixels high, which I messed that up so many times, and I don't know why, I just couldn't get it. I was confused by the instructions multiple times, so it needs to be approved, right? So there's some time there for it to get approved, and I failed because I messed up the background size, and also they thought my foil badge wasn't spectacular enough. Okay. I'll make it, so I made it really shiny. So,
none of foil is bad.
Yeah, and I messed up the background again the second time. So they're like, well, your foil badge looks great, but you still didn't do the background right. So I ended up not getting it ready for release. So I released the game without the trading cards, and then the next couple days I released the trading cards. Probably no one noticed, but. Anyways.
Badge.
Yeah, right.
People are crazy about those trading cards, so I think it's good to have it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, I wasn't going to do it at first. I thought, it's a lot of work, it's probably not really worth it, who really cares anyway? But then, I was talking to one of the guys that does, one of the giveaway groups, and he's like, people really like those trading cards.
So what's on your trading cards?
Oh, I put marbles on.
We've gone full circle. So people like you marbles.
Game characters on there, or?
Yeah, you can put different things on there. A lot of times, it's like characters from the game or different things like that. But yeah, I just put the different marbles that you can collect in the game on each card. Yeah. Cool. Yep. And then the badges, marbles. And medals. I also use medals. So you can get because in the game you can get medals for your time. So it has a bronze, silver, gold, and then but the foil badge is a medal that's a marble on it, and it's shiny and it glows and it's so beautiful.
I gotta see them. Texture. Bless your card.
You can buy the game if you want to see them.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, if you want that foil badge, you gotta buy it.
Gotta have it.
So, okay. So that's sort of the whole release process. There's lots of steps involved. And like I said, don't get discouraged. Just take one piece at a time. There's really good documentation for everything that you need to do, and you know, they have checklists and all that stuff to help you along. So it's just, you just gotta work through it. It takes, you know, but expect, the reason I wanna tell you all this is because there's time. It's gonna take time. You know, you can't say, oh, my game's greenlit, I'm gonna release it next week, you know. You probably won't be able to do that, you know. There's a lot of graphics you have to make, a lot of stuff you gotta do to set up all the rest of the stuff you need. All right, so one of the things you're going to want to do with your game is set the game to coming soon. So, you know how I accidentally released my Greenlight game by hitting the publish button? Well, in this case, I was so afraid to hit it, but there is a release my game button. But this one actually gives you the option of setting it to coming soon. So, you know, so you do need to sort of click that button, but just close your eyes. No, but, so, it says, like, what would you like to do? And you say, I want to set my game to coming soon, and this is the date I want to release it on, or whatever. Once you do this, it'll show up. Actually, there's a coming soon section in Steam, and people watch it, apparently, because I started getting contacted like crazy from all these people. So you will get contacted, and they're going to use your contact info. Remember I was talking about contact info. It's very important because that's how they're going to contact you. So make sure it's working, right? I didn't actually mess that one up. That one was fine. But yeah, it was crazy. Like, just started getting, like, people were like, oh, I see your game's coming out. Can I try it out? I want to YouTube about it. I'm like, sure. So you get contacted by YouTubers, giveaway groups, indie bundles, sites, digital game stores, game reviewers, Twitch streamers, game advertisers, and aliens from outer space. It happened. They said, yeah, no, you have to send, a Steam key, or else the planet will be vaporized. Like, no.
This planet there.
That was pretty funny. The planet has not been vaporized, so I think they might have been lying, but anyway.
It's coming tomorrow.
What's the pitch from game reviewers?
Sorry, everyone. What?
What's the pitch from game reviewers? What are they typically asking you?
They usually say, hey, I have this YouTube channel, and I want to do a first play of your game, and I have this many subscribers, and I'm really popular. Or something like that. Please send me a copy of your game so I can try it out. This kind of thing. Now, there are a lot of people trying to scam you. They just want free games. They're not actually a YouTuber. They don't. And actually, those were typically the ones where it's like you click on the YouTube channel they're talking about, and it's like they have like 10 million subscribers, and you're like, what? And then you look at their email, and it's like joe@gmail.com, and you're like, what? So one of the cool things about YouTube is that YouTube has a business email section. It's basically you click on contact, and there's a captcha you type in, and it'll show the email of the user. So most of the really big YouTubers, legitimate ones, are going to have their email in that business email. So all you have to do is you go there, you check the email, does the email match the email that actually sent to me? If not, you respond and you say, hey, can you please make sure that your email matches your YouTube account, and they will never contact you again. I've never had one of them contact me back after that, so I don't think they're legitimate people. Well, they're maybe real people, but... So, and I found it was actually about like 50-50. Like, half of them were trying to scam me, and the other half were legitimate. Now, again, like, I think it actually is really good to give your game out. It's kind of hard, you're like, maybe I don't want to give it away, But at the same time, these people are going to be advertising for you, It's going to get the word out. So it's actually, I think, really good to do it. And there's a couple people that I think really helped promote my game by doing YouTube stuff. So at the same time, don't shy away from it just because people are trying to take advantage of you. And a lot of times what I did is if I wasn't sure, I just to my key, because,
chances are they weren't gonna buy it.
Yeah, they weren't
right?
gonna buy my game, you know, so. But in most cases, the people that were legitimate were people that were just saying, hey, I'm interested in your game. If they said like, oh, one of my associates noticed your game, and and they're like trying to sound like really important, they're probably not really anybody, So that's what I found in general. So I participated in some giveaways and stuff like that, and I think they can kind of help a little bit to kind of get some buzz about your game. I'm not, like I said, I'm not really an advertiser. I don't know how to do any of this stuff, but I did find that when I did this, there was some, a little bit more kind of traffic around my game and stuff like that when I gave it out. Especially, there were a couple people that really promoted my game for me. Basically, I'm like, okay, great, And all I did was give them a Steam key, which is, basically I don't get $10. I don't have to pay for that Steam key. I just, so.
Yeah, there's I think erring on the side of like, giving out the key is a good thing. Reminds me of a quote, you have more to fear from obscurity than you do from piracy.
Right, yeah. And I did see my game on crack sites. So that was pretty neat. I was actually really vindicated. Yeah, it's actually a little flattering. I'm like, wow, my game is on a crack site. And they said no CD crack. I'm like, people still say that?
It's like you're in that spot where it's not a problem because you're losing millions of dollars from it, but it's also not a problem because you're like, I'm making like $10 off it. Who cares?
Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty interesting to see that. They also had the wrong size of the game, so I don't know what they were actually giving out. I don't think that was my game. It's great to have it though.
It's a pretty big no CD crack.
Yeah, some nice advert you got there. So. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, game crack sites will start posting your game because it's on Steam, which obviously means that it's amazing. Yes, I don't know. And you're going to get good and bad feedback. This is inevitable. Some of the best games you look and you'll see like 5 people didn't like this game and it was amazing. This is the best game ever made. Or like I just looked at one. It was for young kids, like it was a kid's game on Steam, and it said 4 children on it, and someone commented and said, I don't really like this game because I don't have any kids. Why did you It said right there 4 kids, 4 children. It's a bad game. Oh, I don't like this game. It wasn't for you, so so you're gonna get it. So I have some on mine, and one of the things is that it's really hard not to focus on the negative. So I just want to put that out there. Like everyone's gonna get negative stuff. It's hard not to focus on that. It's hard to say like, okay, I'm gonna take, if this is constructive criticism, I will use it. If it's not, which get that, then just don't use it. And also. Respond when it's appropriate. Like I had one person that said that the controls were very bad in my game. They used the word horrendous actually, which was nice colorful word. So they said the controls were horrendous, but I'm pretty sure the controls aren't horrendous. So I think probably what was happening is that potentially their game was not running very smoothly because in testing I noticed that the controls get really difficult when your frame rate drops. So if your machine either is not very good or it's or maybe it's not very compatible with with Unity's engine, whatever they use, maybe it doesn't perform well on any Unity games. Maybe it's not just mine. But in any case, I was pretty sure it was a performance issue and not an actual control issue. So I addressed that and I said, I think it might be a graphic issue. There are settings. You can set the graphics in the game. You can lower them. And I said, try that and let me know. I didn't hear anything from them, obviously, but it's good to address that because if people just see an empty the controls are horrendous, that's all they're gonna see, right? And if they don't see a response from you that says, you know, well, I think this is what you're experiencing, you know, then they're only gonna get one side of the story. So at the same time, you don't wanna like comment on every single bad thing that you get and say, you're wrong, you're an idiot, you know. You know, so that, you know, in moderation, but, you know, if you see something you really think you can help them, then comment on it. If they're just mad for whatever reason, they had a bad day and they left a nasty comment on your page, just, you know, let it go probably is best, I think.
No, it says try to focus on the good, but if
Yeah.
you've ever been on Steam for more than like 20 minutes, you'll know that some games have these like pages full of nothing but ridiculously funny articles that aren't constructive in any way, but they're hilarious. So everybody says, "Yeah, that's great, man." So
Right.
how do you deal with that? I mean, is there a way to filter those out, or can you just take that as like, "Oh, hey, cool, they're cracking jokes about my game, whatever, that's great."
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's, you know, it depends each situation, but yeah, you wanna, you know, I would try to, you know, just let it be, I guess, you know, unless there's something, you know, that you can actually address, you know. But yeah, so, but it is kind of tough, you know, I had one reviewer that said, it didn't look like I put very much effort into the game.
Ouch.
You know, and so, that's hard, you know, you're like, okay, you know, and that's really where it starts getting really, really difficult because, you know, they're saying something as if they know something and they don't, you know, obviously. So, anyways, so that's something that you will deal with. So just be prepared for that. You know, you will get feedback. Some of it will be great. Some people, like I had one guy that just loved my game and he was going on and on about it. That was fantastic, you know. But then there's the other side of it where you have to deal with these difficult things. And in some cases, you know, I made improvements. Like, and I got some feedback and it was pretty good. And so I made an update to my game. I made some performance enhancements so that one guy that had performance problems, which I'm pretty sure that's what it was, he would get that performance increase and, you know, stuff like that. There is also, so you get feedback on your page. You'll get feedback from YouTubers. You get feedback from reviewers. You'll also get feedback from returns. So Steam has a new thing where you can now return a game if you don't like it. So it's good to check that feedback and see why people are returning the game. I had 3 returns because I messed up my initial launch and nobody got my game. So 3 people returned it saying, I can't play this game, it doesn't work. Right, so that was bad. But at least it was only 3, right? It could have been worse. You know, and then I had, you know, and people can mark like why they returned the game. You know, and so a couple said that, you know, it didn't run great, and a couple said that they didn't like the game. So, but you know, I didn't have a ton of returns, so that was good. You know, so you look at the positive. You know, so. Anyways, so that's about it for that, I think. And then, are there any questions? I have an example. In case someone.
It's the stuff that comes out of pipes, right?
Yeah, it is. Among other things.
So what is the, not sure what you call it, but like for Xbox Live, it was, the developer got 70 cents on the dollar. What is Steam's?
That's pretty standard. Yeah, 70%. A lot. You're not necessarily going to get that. Steam will do a specific deal for you. You know, whatever they decide. Which is probably that, but but you're not guaranteed anything. You know, they don't say what they're going to do until you actually like go to like sign the contract or whatever. But yeah, I've seen that in a lot of other places too. Is the 70%.
Well, I guess so. On that note, what did you get?
70. Yeah. So.
I imagine for the really big volume games, they negotiate a lower rate for Steam.
Yeah,
They're like,
that's
guys,
Yeah. Right. When they have to wait. Yeah.
Maybe millions of people are going to buy this within the first 2 months, like Ubisoft.
Or a
something.
higher one, depending.
I don't know. If you're getting as a new developer 70%, my guess is that they don't
Yeah, they don't
take a
probably-
bigger cut than that. You know, they're going to start you off with them having the biggest cut, right? And then
No, that's
if you're doing a lot of volume, then you get.
Because they want your business, they want
Right.
it to come if you're big, so they're like, all right, I'll give you 80/20, because there's
Yeah,
so
you
many
have more
competitors.
negotiating power if you're not
Yeah.
one guy.
Yeah, if you're gonna sell 10 million.
50% of like 1 million sales is a lot more.
Yeah.
And the green light, you said it was $100, is that a one-time fee or is that?
Yep, yeah,
per game?
yeah, I believe you can release more, once you buy it, you can release multiple games.
And is it a yearly thing like Apple or?
No, I think it's just a one-time, I haven't had to pay it again.
That's pretty good.
So
yeah.
Steam controls your pricing too, right? Like you don't have a lot of agency over that piece?
So you can choose your price, and they just sort of approve it. So if you
Okay.
say put something ridiculous down, then they're like, yeah,
What about with sales?
yeah.
Like-
So yeah, with sales, you can kind of put it down for whatever you want, and you set a duration. So you say, like, I want it to be, 50% off for a week or something like that.
Oh, so you can set up, here, I'm gonna have a sale.
Yeah. Now, you can't just do it whenever you want, because they want it to be spaced well or something like that. So they actually don't let you, if you just had a sale, you can't immediately do another one. And so, because I found that out because I was trying to put it on sale for the Maker Faire, and they're like, you released your game in the last so many weeks, so no. So they restrict that, but an exception is like the holiday sales and stuff like that. You can sometimes, depending, you can sometimes do a sale anyway, regardless.
Does Steam let you know when there's gonna be stuff like the summer sale, Christmas sale, spring sale?
Yes, they tell you, and you have to keep it a secret.
Oh. So is there an NDA for that? Is it like a wordless NDA because you've agreed to do all this stuff, you have to agree to not?
Yeah,
talk
so all
about
that stuff you sign before, you say that you're not going to, disclose sales and all that kind of stuff. I hope I didn't do any.
There's a
I was gonna say,
website.
when you said the 70%, but everyone knows that.
Right, yeah. And
Oops, the summer sale's coming up, I forgot about that.
I'll have to edit the video.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think, but yeah, they negotiate a lot of stuff.
How much
Yeah.
control do you have over your release date?
Yeah, you pick the release date. So you just say, this is when I want to release it, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, once you finish everything on the checklist, they check it all over, and then they'll let you know if there are any issues.
So once you have their go-ahead, then you can pick whatever date you want.
Yeah, I think they even said, like, in their documentation somewhere that, like, even if you've picked a release date, you can like change it and say, oh, I actually want to move. Once you're sort of approved, you can kind of decide when you want to do it. But you have to have a date in mind initially in order for them to even look at it.
Is there a minimum amount of, so like, the Xbox Live did, you have to make $150 in a given quarter, or they won't send you a check, they just keep your money?
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I'm not doing Xbox development now, but yeah.
Do they keep it or do they just roll it in? Because that's what Apple did.
Oh, yeah, they keep it. It's, yeah, you don't get a check.
Wow.
Make
Well,
at least $150
They just hold, they just let it
quarter.
accumulate?
It
Oh,
accumulates
so
through
you
the
make-
quarter,
Okay.
right, so, but if you don't make that 150,
Just
if
set
you
the
only get
scale.
$149 in this quarter, then you don't get anything.
Yeah, Steam just sends you money at the end of every month. pretty much.
Yeah.
But they give you the money from the previous month of sales at the end of the next month. So it's like, yeah.
It's back.
So yeah,
It's
so
like-
so you have your initial launch, right? And so that say that's a month, and then you won't see that money until the end of the next or the month after that. So
Mhm.
basically, you won't see any money until 2 months after the release, basically. Unless you're like me and messed up with the bank information. Actually, I didn't mess it up. Funny. I set it up as a savings account. That's what I set up in my bank, and it didn't work. And I actually checked with my bank, and it turned out that they were processing it as a checking account. And I contacted Steam, and they're like, no. Like, you just check over your data and stuff. And then they sent me another email almost immediately after that was like, yeah, there was a problem with the processing that. Sorry, we'll fix it. So it should be fixed now. So if you want to set up a savings account, it should be okay.
Yeah, actually kind of makes me think, so how's that communication piece between you and Steam? Like, have they been pretty helpful and touch, or is it kind of like
what's
bare
nice is
notification?
when you have your own, when you have that set up with them, you log into that portal, and then you get a special just for you kind of like communication portal so you can make tickets to say, I have an issue with such and such, and then they'll get back to you. So, and it has a drop down, and one of them is, I just released my game and it's not working, so I used that one already, so I can't use that one again. But yeah, and so that one's like really high priority. They'll address that one almost immediately. But yeah, I've had really good communication with them whenever I had issues and stuff. They'll help me out. I can't remember, I had another issue with something, and they were basically like, yeah, you're doing it wrong. I can't remember what it was, but I was like, oh, right, okay, sorry.
So what about, so you mentioned sales can't be too close together, what about price changes?
I'm not entirely sure. You can change your price. And they have like the recommendations, and they're like, you shouldn't change your price immediately after release. They have a whole set of like things that you shouldn't do. But I read that list and I was like, okay, I shouldn't change my, I shouldn't do sales too frequently. But I didn't realize they forced that one. So I don't really know exactly what they suggest and versus what they support. But I know that what they force. But I know that they suggest that you don't change your price of your product right after release, that you wait a while first. And they actually sort of suggest that you do like, okay, your initial sales should be like pretty small, 10%, and then slowly increase it, 20, 30, 50, that kind of thing, over the course of like a year kind of thing. And so probably what I'm going to do is I'll kind of do that sort of thing, and then at the end of the year you put, then you reduce the price.
Well, so you're talking about reducing the price, and not that you want to do this because it's really bad publicity and marketing, but if you increase the price.
It's not necessarily like that. There's quite a few, like Minecraft did that.
Yeah.
Castle Doctrine.
If you did like a major update or something, then you could probably adjust the price.
So you're right. It's not a bad idea because you can do stuff like increase the price, then put it on sale. So it's at a reduced price, then it goes back up. I mean, that's a trick that a lot of major corporations and marketing firms do specifically for that reason.
Yeah, well, the two, Minecraft and Castle, I know Castle Doctrine specifically, he was like, I will never put it on sale, and he did this huge, and it was actually very convincing, like data on why sales ruin stuff and whatever, and he was like, my price will only go up in time, I will never punish the early adopters, like all this stuff, and Minecraft supposedly did the same thing. It started at like 10 and now it's like 50, and like it never goes on sale. Although Minecraft after it was bought, I think changed, but
yeah,
when it was held by him, he didn't put it on sale.
Yeah, I got the alpha, the really early alpha of Minecraft when it was still hey, kill all the skeletons and don't die. But that was one of the reasons that I bought it, which was like, hey, pay $10, you get it. You get it for the rest of your days. You don't need to pay anything else. It's free. Take it.
All right. I think we should give our speaker Curtis a hand.
Congratulations as well.
Yeah, congratulations.
That's a big deal.
Did this morning was I went out to Browns River Middle School, and I met with 30 kids, and so this is Hour of Code this week, for those of you know that. And I kind of suggest that you all get involved with that. So what we did, which is not going to fit on the damn screen. Look at this. Okay, so what I did was I used something called processing.js. If you go to processing.org, there's a whole library, and there's this script that you can write, and then you immediately see the results over here in the side window. So I'm at Has Canvas, and I I did a few scripts. I just wanted to show this to you guys because I know as developers, it's like, okay, we don't know how to code, but you probably do run into people all the time, and somebody say, oh, could you show our kids, how to do this? Or I have my nephew wants to know how to code, could you help him out? So this is kind of a fun thing to do. You basically, if you look through this, there's two functions. There's a setup that runs once and a draw that runs for every frame. You set the frame rate, and here, I'm having it bounce back and forth, but you can do things like, here, a few extra parens here that we don't need. You can change the color of stuff, and this is what I do with the kids, and then I ask them questions, and so we come over here, okay, now it's yellow. You can make this smaller or bigger. So I just wanted to share that with you. You go to, this is hascanvas.com, and what's cool is that if you go there and just put in any, anything after the slash, any page name, it'll create a new page for you, right? And then if you have an account, you can save that, and then you can give it to someone else, and they can see your code, and they can change it. So I did a couple other ones, but these were just sort of ones I did really quickly. Here, this was to show kids, oh, there's a sign function here that makes things go like this, But some people have done some really beautiful stuff. I think you just, I liked this one. This was really cool. So you have this line and you move your mouse, it all jumps around. And then, of course, you can look at the code and you can change it. And you probably want to click this guy, otherwise you get crazy with this thing going back and forth. But that's it. Hascanvas.com, processing.org. Have fun.
Yeah,
Very
that's
cool.
very cool.
So this is this is a first-person gardener. You have a solar-powered seed shooter, and when you shoot it, it plants flowers. But of course, your garden's teeming with life, so an army of Grim Reapers have come to kill it. So you kill them right back.
That's awesome.
First-person gardener.
There it is.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh, that's cool.
Nice. It's weird without a mouse.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help that I messed up the trackpad drivers.
Oh yeah. Alright, I'm gonna not turn.
That was really cool.
I really like the little
Yeah,
snow.
This is.
So you can plant stuff?
Yeah, you can plant flowers when you shoot, but I can't shoot for some reason. The button's not working.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know what might be
Yeah.
really fun to do with this game? Is to put it out here just like this and ask people for suggestions and see what kind of crazy crap people come up with. So you start with a bare minimum
What
game.
suggestions do you guys have?
Turrets.
Flower turrets. Flower turrets.
Yeah, plant like Venus flytraps and
I mean, that is a cool idea.
That's right. I should, I want to have a button that you can fly it.
I like there's a flower on the back.
Yeah, I like the flower. The flower sticking on the enemy is great.
This is really charming actually.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
like the skull.
I love the style.
Oh my god.
There you go.
This
So
is
the skulls at the bottom,
You collect
of course you want to wear the skulls of your dead enemies. That acts as armor, and each skull is worth 2 shots of damage.
So how about you pour water on them and then it turns into dirt and flowers grow out of it?
That's cool.
And if you notice by the crosshairs when you kill an enemy, it'll say ×2.
Mm-hmm.
That opens up a window of 1.5 seconds where you have double damage, and if I can kill another enemy within that 1.5 seconds, it'll go to ×3. That's another +10 damage. And I don't know if I can do it on this trackpad, but if you get it going fast enough, you can just go. And then
Do those,
feel like a hit
are those
there.
heat seeking, or are they just
They go to where you shoot, but I just also have
They
it
like
rotating
curve a
around.
little bit.
Yeah, it sends out a raycast to wherever you're aiming, and then it instantiates a bullet that moves towards it and also rotates around it at the same time, so it kind of curves.
I didn't see you at GMGF, but for those of us who were, if you played the game that was next to our booth, Duke Spookum, this reminds me a lot of it. Mostly because it reminds me of Wolfenstein, but aside from that, you could go in some really, really funny directions with this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a great setup for like a serious, like, dark humor, black comedy kind of like. Hey, plant all the flowers and then kill all the Grim Reapers to get their ashes and bones and dust because it'll make the flowers prettier.
Oh, that's good.
I like the flowers.
Yeah.
It's good too. I just put that in.
The style I like,
It's, yes.
I think I don't know about the gunshot, maybe squirting sounds.
Are you trying to hit a fun
I was trying to get out.
Like a
escape?
Yeah, it's kind of just like a heavy duty.
Definitely a flower
I think
power
escape is,
power up.
oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, I watched a talk that a guy from Vlambeer did, and he was like, just add bass to your sound effects. And it's like, oh, that's it.
So I'm working on this game, Tetra Count, which is the game that I made for the jam, for the game theory jam, and it is not running right now. Come on. It's basically it's Arkanoid / Breakout, and then it's also kind of Tetris, and then it's also kind of just a bunch of crap. Yeah, and so it's basically it started off as some really simple thing I made in 24 hours, and now it's kind of evolving. I've got all these levels now. There's my spooky Halloween level. So I've actually added a story since.
A story?
Yeah. So there's a story, and so it's like you're some kid who likes to dig around junkyards and stuff, and one day you find this unmarked Atari cartridge, and what's super weird is that it's overspec for an Atari, so you load it into like a loader on your computer, and lo and behold, it's this really weird game developed by this guy who's actually hiding Nazi secrets. Those are spoilers, but I have plans. But essentially, the game it's it's not running very well, unfortunately. But it's pretty simple. You just hit the block, but then the blocks come down, and you see how the blocks are getting lighter when I hit the ball. And actually the blocks get destroyed, like that. So your paddle gets destroyed over time. You don't have to worry so much about catching the ball. The ball just respawns over and over again. What you have to worry about more is getting the blocks from the top without destroying your paddle. And the way you do that is you collect the blocks as they fall. And it's really challenging. No one aside from myself has completed the game, or at least completed a match in the game. And things like that happen, and it's the worst thing ever. So the biggest problem I'm having with this is actually making it easy enough to win. And it's not so much that, because the math adds up. If somebody were to play it regularly, it would work. It's that actually I'm finding bugs in the engine I'm using, or at least in the preset. So I have the ball right there set as a bullet, and it's set to bounce off everything. And the problem with that is, for some reason, the polygon that it bounces off is not the same as the collision polygon that I've set for everything. And I cannot figure out for the life of me why, and I can't seem to fix it. And so I get weird things like it'll bounce at a straight 180 degrees for no reason, and it's unnatural, and anyone who sees that will be thrown off. So this is actually the same build as the one that I showed at GMGF, and it's not spectacular. I got a lot of players, and that was really cool, and that was always good. But the biggest problems were that nobody wanted to sit around and complete a game, because the game would bug out, and we'd get the ball like smashing between the two sides, and then you had to cheat to fix it. And I forgot what my cheat button is. I think it's F11? I can't remember. I don't know. But essentially, I I'm moving towards the part where I quit my day job. Yeah, that's right. But I'm switching to part time. But it's because I really want to get it published because it's just a silly enough game and a challenging enough game that I think it could find its market. But I don't know. It seems to me like something that could work. Like I said, for like a quarter on Steam, if that's even possible. So I'm really interested in today's talk. That's really cool. I took a ton of notes. So hopefully one day this will show up on Steam, and I'm just gonna hand out for free essentially. So
there was that 180.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that didn't make any sense. That bounce right there. So I have to rewrite the bounce stuff.
Hey Fisher,
Yeah.
this is I'm going to throw out a suggestion
shoot.
in terms of game mechanic. You know, because you're saying that people are kind of like they're seeing all the blocks and then they're like, okay, I get it, but they don't want to complete the level because it starts to feel a little bit of tedium. My thought is like maybe one of the things that you could do is first bounce, it works exactly like you have it here.
Right.
But if you catch it and bounce it back, then maybe the block you hit emits another thing that kills one other block. So now on the second bounce you're getting 2 blocks. And if you keep the pass going back and forth, you're getting exactly for keeping the ball up. Because right now you're kind of like in breakout you're not allowed to let the ball drop.
Right.
And
There's no punishment for that.
right, there's no punishment for letting the ball drop. And so instead of giving the players a punishment, you can simply just incentivize them, and then it also helps you deal with that feeling of it's too much.
I'm wondering if the risk would be greater than the reward in that case, though. Because I had another idea of just timed power-ups. So the longer you last, the more power-ups you get.
Yeah.
Just to keep a player through a level.
Or even better, on the same note as Arkanoid, you could have some of the blocks.
Some of the blocks be power-ups.
Right, exactly. So you can have one that's like a bomb, and if you have a couple bombs that are close together, they chain together, blow up more blocks. Alternatively, if you want to crank up the difficulty, you can have it so that making risky catches or risky moves with the paddle, whenever the bullet explodes, you can have the closest block just explode and move away. The further you are away from the bullet, it makes a couple of your blocks.
What if a block on the surface, when it got destroyed, launched up into it and exploded a bunch of blocks?
Have you seen?
That's a lot of good ideas.
Have you seen Smash Hit?